Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
This is the newest episode of Memory Leak. We are recording from a new location.
Undisclosed. Hidden bunker.
Yeah, you want to call it in the bunker. Something happened that reminds me of somebody that did something to themselves in a bunker. You know what I mean?
Talking about 1945? What are you talking about?
So, you're laughing.
I am.
I'm not going to laugh for a minute.
That's fine.
Today is the day after Election Day 2024. What are you doing? Get coffee? Okay. All right. I'm just going to repeat that bit. You can edit that little touch out if you want to, or you don't have to. But today is 2024, the day after Election Day. The Orange Man has been fucking elected, and everybody has some feelings about it. Me personally, I have my own feelings about it, and I think it's time that I stop holding back and I just say what I feel like saying. Not because I'm emboldened by the bullshit that he is and the bullshit that Elon Musk is and the bullshit that everybody else around that is, but because I think it's necessary that these people who will not change when they hear any kind of reasonable argument for something, I think they need to know exactly how I feel about them so that they can understand where they are in relation to me and in relation to this podcast that you all are listening to right now. I know most of you are cool. Most of you are, for sure. But I would like to say that if you are one of the Americans that voted for Donald Trump, I want you to think about why you vote for someone who is nothing but a cartoon character. He is a reality show TV host. He is he's cameoed in movies and things like that, and he has a lot of fucking weird influencers at his back when it comes to the new internet age that we're in. He ran for president even just because he thought he could. Not because he thought maybe I want to do something for the people of this country, but no. The way he operates is that he wants to be the star of the show. And by permitting him to be the star of the show, not only once, but twice, indicates to me that most people in this country, because he did win the popular vote and the electoral college, he is, most of the people in this country, North America, the United States of America specifically, don't have enough sense to think past where they can piss. And when I say that, I mean that most of you, like I said, a lot of you did what I consider the right thing. But the majority of you and the result that we got indicates to me that most of you are fucking morons. And I don't mean that in a way where, like, I hate you, but I think you're a fucking idiot in the same way that a squirrel crossing the street runs back under your tire when you try to avoid it and ends up crushing itself. Imagine...
Peanut.
Fuck Peanut. Imagine that you have an opportunity to actually change things for you and the people around you, potentially for the better, and you don't take it. Now, you dodge that opportunity to vote for an opportunist. Why? You spend all this time talking about how, invalidating certain people, like trans people, people that are in any way deviate from what you consider normal. And for some reason, these people scare you. You're afraid to lose your guns or whatever. You're afraid to lose this and that. You're afraid to get taxed for having an amount of money that you will never fucking have. And you know why you won't have it? Because you won't let yourself anywhere near something like that kind of prosperity, because you give it to somebody else who is selling it to you. Because that's all the United States voters, at this time at least, are capable of thinking about. They're only capable of thinking about the things that are being sold to them, the things that provide them entertainment, and the things that provide them very short-term dopamine hits, I'll say. The currency that they gamble in this slot machine with is the lives of the people around them that are not white dudes and that are not just quote-unquote normal people. And, you know, I think that is pretty fucking sinister, to be completely real with you. You might think that you're smarter than somebody. I know my Harris as a candidate is not perfect. I'm not stupid. I'm not fucking dumb. I know Joe Biden was not fucking perfect. I know that. I'm not stupid. But what I also know is that fucking Donald fucking Trump is a known criminal, a known liar, a known rapist, a known abuser, and he will absolutely trick your dumb asses into some bullshit that you might not get to see the result of in your lifetimes, but the people that, if you leave a legacy, those people will have to deal with it. We're still dealing with shit from 50 years ago. We're still dealing with shit from 100 years ago. And I don't get the luxury of not talking about this because I am brown. And just being black means I'm a little different from what people see as normal. That's also the thing that Kamala Harris had to deal with in her own way, of course. Being a woman of color means that she was not going to get elected. You know why? Because this is the United States of America. And the people here do not want anything to be different, because they don't remember what the fuck America was founded on, or, you know, the United States was founded on. And instead of trying to move toward a country where everybody in it can find their own actual prosperity through the like government and whatnot getting out of their way, but making sure to protect those things that they can, you now have a government that has their, which is hilariously ironic because this is what they think it's not, a government that will do everything for itself to keep things on a certain rail and to tell you, to sell to you that this is the way it's supposed to be and this is what makes America great again. Unfortunately, it's not. Real greatness comes from a little bit of messiness. Real greatness comes from actual diversity. And I know a lot of you, not you listeners necessarily, but I know a lot of these motherfuckers, especially these fucking gamers, decided that having anything that deviates from what they assume is the normal in their fucking games and shit like that is vile, is evil. It's like, oh, don't buy that. It's a failure. It's trash. It's junk. You know what
that is the dictionary definition of conservatism.
Exactly. It's nothing but like conservatism.
Grasping to what you have and never letting go. Never letting it grow, never letting it shrink. You grasp. You have this weird, you have a sapling that could grow into a giant, great big tree, into a giant, great big forest. But you are afraid that someone is going to take your tree, your one tree. So you don't let that forest happen. You don't let anyone else have a tree. You want that one tree and you want everybody to be on that tree. And if they don't want to be on that tree, then they need to get out. But that's bullshit, because some of the people that are here, a lot of the people that are here against their will. A lot of people that are here fertilized the soil so that tree could grow in the first place. You're standing on the back of that work thinking it's your work. And if you think it's your work, then you are, like I said, a fucking moron, because you think that you deserve it. The only thing you deserve is the freedom to choose, which you got by voting. But what you voted for is taking that from
many other people. It wasn't about... You weren't going to have your shit taken from you. You weren't. That was not what was going to happen. What was going to happen was certain things would be slightly more difficult to get to, but not inaccessible. What you all voted for is, gas and shit is going to be maybe slightly cheaper at the at the loss of I don't know, the safety of a lot of people around you. A lot of people that you might not understand are invisible because they have to be that way, because if they do reveal themselves as who they are, if they do tell you who they are, if they live the way they want to live, then you immediately jump on them because you don't have a life. You want your life to be run by this TV cartoon man. You want to get given that stuff, but you say that you don't want people to get handouts, but that's bullshit. You're expecting a handout. Do you understand? You're expecting the work to be done for you. That nonsense. Let me back up a little bit. I am mad, and I think that people in this fucking country don't want to see anything be different. They are so hung up on where they are in the exact moment that they're in, and I'm going to cornify this up, and they want their little fucking endless now, but they can't have it. You can't have that. You will die. The people that came behind you will have to endure your bullshit, and it'll keep going and going until you realize that electing a dumb fucking cartoon orange man into a fucking important office like this, not only for our country, but for the entire fucking world, is so fucking haphazard, so potentially destructive. Obviously, I can't say what he's going to do this time, but you already saw what happens when you dumb fucks lose. You fucking storm the dumbass White House. You storm the fucking White House. What is wrong with you? I have friends that were in that shit when that was happening. Let me tell you right fucking now, if you voted for Donald Trump, you better stop listening to this fucking podcast. You better stop fucking you better not email shit, or if you want to, so I can laugh at you for trying. But this shit specifically is not for you. I think you probably would have figured that out by now. It's been a few years. But what I think is that the entire Republican Party, all of them, every single one, even the ones that may have some sense, permitted Donald Trump to be the candidate again. Why? You literally picked a loser, a literal loser. You picked a literal criminal. The abused, like people who have been abused, picked an abuser thinking they wouldn't abuse them. People who finally got out of their cage voted for the person that put them in that cage thinking they wouldn't put them in there again. Are you kidding? Are you serious? Are you stupid? The answer is yes, you are. And that's my opinion on it. That might not be everyone's, and that might not even be Ben's. But my opinion is you are a dumb fuck that needs to think for just a minute. You need to think, maybe I need to do something that isn't good just for me, that isn't potentially good just for what I think is this. I understand we need to survive. I understand that. And part of that survival is getting things for less money. But you don't understand is that the way presidencies often work is that you're dealing with the results of the one that came before it. So if, let's say, Joe Biden, whatever, he's got fucking issues. That's, like I said, it's not beyond me. But part of that 4 years is dealing with the shit Donald Trump set up before that. Like, the part of the quote-unquote prosperity you felt from Donald Trump is dealing with what Barack Obama set up the 8 years before that. Like, do you understand that not having the sense to say cartoon man probably should not be the fucking president? That should be easy. That should be easy. But no, you all are children that want your cartoons. All you are your children that want your little iPad while you eat dinner. Because you can't possibly believe that something might not be made just for you. You can't think about, oh, maybe I need to learn to entertain myself. Maybe I need to learn to take care of myself. And people who were trying to take care of themselves and the people around them, they might come off as, oh, whiny or this or that. What they're asking for is for you to just stay out of the way. Why do you think abortion is fucking evil? There's people out there that will not survive a childbirth, and anything could happen that causes a child to show up. But then on one end, you're like, oh, you haven't figured out how to not have sex and not have a baby. On the other hand, it's like, what the fuck? Don't use contraception. What the fuck? Fuck you. You want shit. You want shit, but it doesn't make any fucking sense. You want shit that's made up. You want shit that's going to get you into heaven. You want stuff that gets you to a place that isn't real. And you keep trying. You keep thinking that the way to it is from someone telling you you're a step away from there, telling you that fucking make America great again. What do you mean again? What is again? Tell me what again is. Was it not already? Because I don't know. I think the fact that I can even sit here and talk to you about this is pretty great. And I think it's been pretty great. But for some reason, you all want to take people's voices away from them again. And not like the way that, you're on Twitter or some shit. And you're like, oh, I can't use the F word. I can't use the R word. That's not what I fucking mean. If you need to use that shit, if you need to use those words, you also need to understand there's consequences, and you are free to experience those consequences. If you don't get to experience those consequences, you silence somebody else who can provide those consequences for you. You need to learn, but you all are too fucking stupid to actually learn. And once you find out, once you've, as they say, once you've fucked around enough, you will find out. You will be like, oh, why does this person not want to deal with me anymore? And that's just a little tiny thing. Maybe it's because you've advocated for their destruction. Like, for real? Think about it. I don't care if you sit on a party and you just play it like sports. If you can afford to do that, fuck you. Understand that not everyone can afford to do that. Like, just think about it for a second. To close out my particular rant there, if you want to call it that, I think this fucking country really fucked up by not giving a chance to something new because they're too scared. They're scared. They're the biggest pussy ass country I've ever seen. I suffer from anxiety daily, but I still deal with things through it. And I know someone else in this room also does. Check it out. You deal with it. You figure it out. I have to figure it out again with this motherfucker going into office in January. What you all need to figure out is that you can succeed. You don't need to take it from someone else. You need to let the opportunities show up for other people instead of taking them away. People are not going to kill your children. They're not going to kidnap your children. They're not going to rape your children. Because you fuckers do it. You put someone who does that shit in the White House. Are you kidding me? Because you were tricked into thinking that the people that actually do that were the others. But it's actually you. Do you see? Not to victim blame or anything like that. Because I know some of you are victims of this kind of thing. And I know it's very complicated. That's not beyond me. But I do have to say, please understand that you've made a choice that is designed to make you complacent and then complicit in a lot of really fucked up shit. We've been involved with fucked up shit with this last presidency, but we're about to walk into a different variety of fucked up shit that we've experienced before. Why? Why would you, I get it. You want to walk into the known. Fuck you. Grow. Okay. Going back memory lane. There you go. Go ahead.
I have some supplemental thoughts.
Go ahead.
If we want to entertain them.
Let them.
First off, well said.
Thank you.
It's good stuff. It's good to get thoughts and feelings off the chest. It's a painful time. I think you touched on something that is 100% true, and I think it comes down to the fact that people want easy information. I think the flow of information is a key part of this. I think Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter is a key part of this. I think his claims that Twitter is and journalism is now, brought back to the people and to the masses is an interesting take, considering how many extremely verifiably, demonstrably false things he shares and amplifies through his influence.
Yeah.
But the reality is, goes back. It's funny because even though we're a video game podcast, there's a lot of topics and things that are relevant.
They're definitely adjacent. That's
MGS2 comes to mind, where people want easy. They want easy. They want easy information. Yeah. They want an easy life. They want, an easy time of things.
Like even down to
they want comfort.
Like Raiden wanted his identity given to him.
Yeah.
He just
exactly. That was the conflict at the end of the game in the climax.
Right.
So, my real job is in data and analytics, and I know the unassailable truth is not easy to come by. Truth is not easy, and data is not easy to analyze. So I understand that it is human nature to want easy information, even if it's not accurate. We saw this with Google and Wikipedia in the early 2000s. People getting lambasted for just using Wikipedia at all in research papers, regardless of if it was accurate or not. At least it provided a paper trail. Now we're seeing the next evolution of it with Gen AI.
I was going to say, yeah.
People just looking at the summaries of shit.
Yeah.
People just relying on their influencers to tell them what they need, even though they're thinking, oh yeah, I'm thinking critically about it. I'm looking at a lot of different sources here. But that's not the reality of it. You think you're smart and you think you're looking at a lot of sources of information, but you're not thinking critically about it.
Yeah.
Elon Musk does not think critically about the things that he shares.
Right.
He reacts with emotion, and I think that's probably the most ironic part of it, is that the party that runs on the whole idea of like facts don't care about your feelings, in fact prop all of their arguments up around feelings. They cherry pick specific stories, they connect certain dots entirely to elicit emotions and to evoke people to feel a certain way and to then sort of drive them in a particular direction. So, and, again, bring it back to gaming, we see that in the trends of the industry. We see gotchas and loot boxes and shit that is just not fucking good. We see Roblox flying off the shelves with no regulation at all. Fucking haven for pedophiles and predators and shit like that. And it's because it's easy. Is because it's easy and people like that it's easy, both on the production side and on the consumer side. It gets you that dopamine hit, it's comfortable, and it's repeatable. So why should they challenge it? Why should they go back to, well, not go back, but why should they try to innovate or push the envelope? And so sometimes when Geron and I come across as fucking shills for Nintendo, it's because a lot of times they don't fucking settle for shit like that. They keep pushing things forward. Sometimes it's not perfect. Sometimes it flops. But like, companies need to do that. I think Sony gets a lot of shit because they're making movie games in a relatively consistent way, and they start to settle. They start to get complacent because they're a business. Xbox, they're trying to do something with Game Pass, but now that that's starting to flounder financially, they're regressing a little bit. They're canceling studios. They're making decisions that might hurt themselves in the long run. So, I mean, it's not a good situation. In terms of my own personal feelings, I think I'm worried not even so much about him per se, but about the impact of the people that he chooses this time. I think in 2016, at least, he was actually choosing reasonably competent Republicans that knew things about how government worked, that all kind of pushed back on his ridiculous ideas, and there was a revolving door of personnel. I think he's learned that lesson, and I think it's going to be really interesting, is probably the most positive word I could use, to see what happens in these next 4 years because of it. We'll buckle up and enjoy this ride together, I guess.
Yeah, enjoy with a big fat set of quotation marks around it. All right.
Welcome to Memory League.
Welcome back. We've been off for a couple of weeks again. It happens. Things happen. People got stuff to do. But we're in a new room. This room is very nice because we get to sit. We get to sit in things that aren't stools. We have a big table. We have candles lit. We have a switch sitting on a stand here.
We've got ambiance.
Yeah. We've got a TV with some fucking animals on it because the dog was supposed to watch it, but the dog started acting up instantly. But yeah. So I don't even remember what we were going to talk about because we did have an idea. We were going to
a couple of things. A lot of big things have been announced.
Shit.
Yeah,
like
Nintendo has been the
shit.
one kind of driving the ball here to bring our conversation forward. Nintendo Music.
Nintendo Music, yeah, the app that, of course, Nintendo was going to make their own individual app to put their music on.
Which, if you were to tell me Nintendo was going to make a music app, my instant reaction would be, vile.
Yeah, it'd be like, why would I use that?
It would be fucking why. It would be like, it's going to be the same as the Switch Online app, which is essentially that it's useless.
Yeah, the Switch Online app is the only thing that's useful for me is to see who's playing a game. If they ask me to play, I'm like, oh, okay, they're on now. But
right,
who knows how?
I mean, and on that point, like, I kind of wish they had just consolidated them. But
yeah, I do too.
Looking and using the app, I realized why they didn't, and that's because the music app is somehow, some way, a very competently made app.
Yep. Yeah. It's very very much made around the experience that Nintendo is good at, which is kind of just giving you
giving you shit
that they think are cool, things that they think are interesting, and giving them to you slowly.
Yeah, the drip feed is going to be real. Unfortunately, it's been quick more than once a week so far.
Yeah, I mean,
fingers crossed they can keep it up.
Right, Donkey Kong Country 2 being on there so soon is very good because
also tying it to the icons on Switch Online is kind of cool.
I thought the David Wise and the Microsoft situation would make it difficult to get to Rare to do anything with that music. But because I don't know who kept the originals. Obviously, Nintendo probably kept the original sequences. I'm just impressed that was put there so soon. And I think there's going to be more times where what shows up on Nintendo Music will tie into something that's either released recently on on the video game side, or maybe there's some just new promotion. Maybe Alarmo gets something too, but we'll talk about that too in a minute.
So some other things that I just like about it, just to kind of scroll through this app here. First off, I like that they custom curate playlists. Yep. They update them daily, which is to me a really big use case for Nintendo Music in general. Like if you go to YouTube, because generally what I've noticed is they've taken the best of what all Nintendo fans have done with Nintendo Music on YouTube over the last 20 years. Yeah. Basically since YouTube's creation, they took all of those ideas and kind of productized them in some kind of a way. Yeah. Playlists of mixing particular themes, whether it's based around a character or a mood or whatever. So they've got those kind of playlists that kind of mix and match, which is nice. They've got the ability to extend to a full hour in some cases songs, which you'll see frequently on YouTube, like, oh, here's this track for an hour. And so they've taken that sort of mentality that appears to be popular for, honestly, whatever reason. It's not really something I've ever personally wanted or understood. It's like it gets too repetitive for me if I'm listening to it.
Right. I can understand people wanting this stuff as background music, but
one song for an hour?
An hour, I don't know about that. Maybe if you run a shop, you can have it playing for a fucking hour. Who knows? But it's cool that it's there, and the way it works in the app is that there's loop points.
Yeah.
You're not streaming an entire hour of the same music. You're streaming maybe 6 minutes of it, and then the loop points then let it repeat from there seamlessly.
Yeah, and speaking of the loop points, some of the tracks that they've produced, they've remastered in ways that have not been done before. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The one that really stuck out to me personally was Pikmin 4. Yeah. So there's a boss battle that phase changes, and when it phase changes, the music completely changes, the rhythm, the pacing, the meter, it's a completely different song. And so when people ripped it and put it on YouTube, they would put it up as like four different tracks. And you'd have to kind of like scan through them to like remember what that was like.
Yeah.
But they've remastered it in a way that makes it feel like the boss battle itself.
Right.
So it'll mix between them more than once even, and it'll have the phase change noise.
It'll give you like the narrative of the boss fight through the music properly.
Exactly. So it's like the definitive way of, that's really funny. Yeah. The definitive way of experiencing sort of like that song in a soundtrack.
Yeah.
And then what you just showed me is another thing that's cool.
Another feature that's cool about it is you can set certain games to you can set the songs to be hidden if you consider them spoilers. So you can just add them to a list of spoiler protection. And when that happens, when you try to listen to the song, it'll just blank out everything. You can't see any of it because it might be song titles, or there just might be music that represents something that happens really late in the game or somewhere you haven't gotten. And I haven't played through Pikmin 4 yet, so I put Pikmin 4 into that category immediately, and it works. I never see it. If I go to Pikmin 4, it just shows me, just tells me spoiler prevention is active. And I am excited for that feature because that prevents something that happens on YouTube all the time, where the fucking thumbnail will spoil something.
So fucking annoying.
It's still hard to get around that because I got to go to YouTube to see certain videos for shit. But I want something like that for every video or music or whatever.
Just all social media.
It's just very difficult to do that. You have to trust somebody to tag their own.
At scale, it's really hard to do that.
That's not going to happen. That's part of the part of why Nintendo, part of what Nintendo can do using their own app. Again, like, it's strange that it has to be their own app, but at the same time, it also means that you get really high quality rips of the music, or rips.
Right,
I don't even know if I call it a rip at this point, but like, I saw a video myself of somebody criticizing that the music doesn't sound exactly the same as it did on the original console, but for me, that's value.
It's the FLAC. It's the lossless file.
Yeah, like, exactly. Now I was saying before, I was listening to the Metroid Prime soundtrack, just fucking with it while I was driving. I was like, okay, it's short enough. I downloaded it and drove with it. And one of my favorite tracks in the game is the Chozo Ruins, just the Chozo Ruins soundtrack. And there's a little maraca in it, and you can kind of hear it in the. You can kind of hear that little maraca sample in the music while you're playing the game normally, but here you can hear it so clearly that there's rhythm to it I didn't actually know was there. And it's not the only track that's like that. It's hard to like go down the list of stuff that's like that, but music, especially if it was not like sequenced music, it was just streamed from the disc or whatever it was. That sounds the best it's ever sounded, because in a game you got to compress the shit to deal with storage, whatever storage medium you're on. But here they can just dedicate the stream to only the music, so you hear a version of the music you couldn't hear otherwise.
Yeah, all the channels.
Like, even without my ability to hear stereo, I can hear shit that I just can't hear in the context of the game, and I don't need it to sound exactly the same. If I want to hear it in the way it sounded in the game, I'll just listen to it in the game. That's fine. Or just go fucking YouTube, where people
have the compressed, do that. The actual compressed ripped files.
Exactly. And yeah, like, as a perk for people that are on Nintendo Switch Online, it's a very funny proposition, like, add to the service. But I think
it's honestly, it's fucking smart. Like, just two other features real quick before we get into sort of the app itself as a recap. Compatible with fucking everything. AirPlay, like Sonos speakers, like all that shit, Bluetooth.
You can blast it to whatever.
I could blast it to the fucking soundbar right now if I wanted
Google
to.
Home or some shit if I want to. I use it in my car, like I said.
Yeah, and I like that it also, like, it knows what games you have.
Yes.
So you can go and just look at the soundtracks of your games.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Which is, like, for a second it felt slightly invasive, like, But, of course, they're going to know what games you have. You link your Nintendo account to it.
Exactly, yeah.
And on top of that, if you're listening to music from a game, you can go, you can scroll all the way down, and if the game is available on Switch, they'll take you to the eShop page, so you can buy it or.
And that's the thing; they're really fucking smart at knowing how to just generally productize their shit.
Yes, yeah.
Which, like, people complained about Switch Online for the longest time, right? Because they were drip feeding, whatever. But, like, they know they have the multi-year plan of how to take all the things that they have and make them feel valuable, right? Like, this is old music. Even the Switch music at this point is old, like 7-year-old music in a lot of cases.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everyone has heard it, but like the fact that they are now like, oh, we're re-releasing this. It's a lossless format, and now it's available on this new app we downloaded. It feels like a new thing, which is like, it's cool. It's like you have something to look forward to, even if it's not even just a game anymore.
Yeah, because they do that, it kind of refreshes the product that they're showing.
Yeah, it gives you a reason to go back.
Like when the Metroid Prime stuff actually uses the GameCube artwork for the little album art or whatever. And
oh, that's true. That's funny.
I think that's cool because what I've noticed recently is because video games are such a new medium. I think I might have mentioned this before, but because video games are such a new medium, the older they get, the more you realize everything's kind of current still. Because it's only been, however long. Like
our lifespan.
Yeah, 30 years really isn't that long when it comes to a form of media.
Right.
So despite Donkey Kong Country 2 being 30 years old, it's for some people it's brand new. For some people
there's bands that were in the 90s that are still on the radio today on mainstream stations.
Yeah, exactly. Like music especially doesn't fade that quickly.
Right.
Movies, especially movies that are considered culturally relevant, culturally impactful, they stick around for a while, and those become new to people. By doing this, they can kind of latch on to those games that people go back to, people rediscover and refresh them. And I appreciate that because then it makes it feel like the things that I've enjoyed are not have not withered.
Right.
Like that Nintendo already has like the whole Blue Ocean thing, the whole evergreen thing. And when you think about keeping a product in circulation in the minds of people, you have to do it in ways that go beyond just the game.
Right.
And this is one of those ways.
It's an engagement channel at the end of the day, right? And traditionally people have engaged with the product itself, advertising, physical merch, right? Like those are the Pokemon classics. Pokemon has been smart, and they've done a lot of apps. Like they were probably the first big Nintendo company to do that. But again, not a lot of video game companies have had like a multi-engagement channel approach. I mean, even Nintendo has kind of taken this along to even step into the digital game here.
Yeah.
But this is the way. To your point, like it's like being at the forefront of people's attention is the name of the game. That's how you stay relevant, regardless of how that is, right?
And Nintendo has a unique situation where they don't already have all these services. Like Sony is Sony. Microsoft is fucking Microsoft. Like the PC that you're listening to this to, if you're listening to it on a computer, is probably running Windows, which is a Microsoft product. Their stuff is already all around, but you don't think about it the same way. Nintendo, when they do something, it loops back into the specific ecosystem that puts you on the path to getting to the games, getting to the video games, getting to buying toys, getting to buying their products. And that's exactly what they want you to do. Not only that, when you're on Nintendo Switch Online, you have to have the subscription to use this anyway. That means you're already in.
Right.
You're in a way that you're probably going to be more in. So they can show you, like the drip feed is, on one hand, the drip feed is ridiculous. All this music should just be whatever should be there.
No.
But look, on the other hand,
it's so intentional.
They're putting work into making these sound good, and they do it slowly so that you are not overwhelmed.
Well, not even just overwhelmed. It's like if they were to just blast everything out there, set it and forget it, people would forget it.
That's what I'm saying. Like you're not overwhelmed with choices. Everybody's kind of on the same page as the product comes out.
I'm kind of glad though, to be reminded of things as they come out. F-Zero 99, another perfect example, right? Like the fact that there are icons to go look at every week had me in that page, and I was like, oh, F-Zero 99 has been updated for anniversary. There's this whole event. There's all these things. There's new tracks. I was like, I would have never even known this if I wasn't constantly being reminded and cycled. Like it's a strategy that works and has sort of that multi-touch purpose behind it. It's like you're being accessed through and reminded of in a world where like there's constant distractions. So it's like I'm actually appreciative that they are drip feeding, because it's like if I really, really wanted to look at this and listen to this music, I could just go to YouTube.
Yeah, you can 100% find it. And I think considering their next console and everything, the they already had a setup like years ago. They told us that they were working on getting other digital avenues for Nintendo shit, and it's starting to bear fruit.
Yeah.
And I think seeing the way it's doing so, you almost have like a kind of, for a lack of a better way to put it, they're kind of integrating you into like a Nintendo lifestyle where you replace certain normal things with a Nintendo version of it,
right?
Like the music app and like the alarm clock.
It's probably where they've been going with like Pikmin Bloom and shit too.
Exactly.
It's like walking to the bus stop.
Yeah, Pokemon Sleep.
Yeah, let's gametize it. Yeah.
All these little things are going to add up together to become like the way you enjoy yourself, whether you're in or out or something. The way your minor escape is probably a Nintendo thing if you're into it, of course.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, the option is there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not, and they're not even doing it in a way that's meant for you to take away from the other platforms or other ways to entertain yourself. It's meant for you to be able to take tastes, take whiffs of what you want.
Yeah, and honestly,
be satisfied with it and continue to live your life while having that as like, it's like breaking off a piece of candy.
Yeah, and I mean, bringing it back to what we've discussed earlier, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Good leadership, whether it's in a person or in a company, leadership in a space or industry is exactly that. It's knowing how to contribute without reducing.
To contribute positively,
right?
Almost exclusively positively.
One last thing that I almost forgot to mention that really should not. I think it's underappreciated is that every single track in this app has its own like box art, like thumbnail.
Yes,
which is crazy. Like you get some games have like 100 tracks.
Yeah, like you get something to contextualize what you're listening to. Like Metroid Prime has the fucking item.
I've actually never seen that on a music app. Yeah. I've never seen a music app where the entire album was just the same image. You know, that's sort of the standard. But like that to me was the moment where it's like, oh, they actually are putting effort into this.
They're putting effort into it, and it's always crazy to me when people say like Nintendo doesn't put effort into things. Like they put probably the most effort into certain things that you aren't realizing they're putting effort into. So other things you may be like obvious shit. You might see it and be like, why didn't they put any energy into this? It's because they put energy into this part of it. And this part of it is where the experience is. It's not the...
Yeah, I mean, well, I will go back and say, like, the Switch Online app still sucks.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the Switch Online app sucks. But that is almost to just exist to say they did it.
Right.
But then there's all the other shit that's like, as the garden of Nintendo Switch Online has been growing, there's been...
It was their foot in the door.
I finally get to play Shadow Man on my
so
Switch.
Funny.
I finally get to play Turok 2 again for the third time on a different machine. But and I got to play through Perfect Dark all the way. I didn't expect to actually get to play Perfect Dark on Switch. And they've I may as well segue into this since I'm thinking about it. They've already said in their like investor call that next console is going to be backward compatible.
Yep.
The stuff you buy now is going to carry forward.
We basically knew this was the case, but it's nice to see the official confirmation.
It's nice to have it confirmed by the fucking president of the company.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So, games coming forward, software coming forward, Nintendo Switch Online is coming forward, which makes me think the next product is going to be called Switch something. If not, they might change Switch Online to just Nintendo Online or something a little more genericized.
Well, I from all the manufacturing leaks, grain of salt, I understand. You know, it very much seems like an iteration on the Switch rather than a reinvention.
Yeah, and if it's gonna play the same games, then you
how different can it be?
The form factor, you know what I mean?
It's gonna have Joy-Cons.
It's gonna have Joy-Con, and I believe the Joy-Con we already have will probably fit right on.
Yeah, will probably work. Yeah.
Yeah, they had that. They sold that little
Joy-Con
charging stand.
That's right. We talked about that too.
I just bought actually.
The Japanese one?
Huh? No, it's available.
Is it available in the US?
But you have to order it from the website. I'm gonna get it next week.
Shit,
it's $30 though. But
when you get it, I need you to tell me if it fits the NES ones.
It does. They advertise it specifically to fit that.
Damn it! That means I need to fucking get one.
They said straight up. you can also put the blah blah blah. And I think there's an image of it there too. But so that's it's $30, and you don't.
It's this one, right? Yeah,
it's
this one.
Yeah, you don't get free shipping unless you order $50 worth of shipping.
Oh my god,
which is insane. And that's not that one.
This is on the Nintendo website.
Give me that.
All right, it's $30.
Yeah, I know it's $30. This isn't the one. Talk real quick.
So the thing that made me realize that it was going to be backwards compatible, and it happened to be announced literally a week before they said that it was going to be backwards compatible in their investor call, was the shadow announcement of Xenoblade Chronicles X being remastered as a definitive edition for Switch. They actually said Switch. And it's coming out in March. And so to me, it says two things. One, looking at that video, I'm like, dog, remastering this is no small task.
Yeah, it's not.
And there were some frame drops in there, understandably. So I'm like, there's no fucking chance that they're designing this just for the 7-year-old Switch.
Yeah.
This is 100% going to be a launch title for the Switch 2 that will also happen to be backwards compatible with the Switch. So, and we also saw Yooka-Laylee get announced for not even the Switch. It just says Nintendo. So, that one's going to be just for the Switch successor. That one's probably not even going to be backwards compatible, which means we're probably we're going to start seeing games that are exclusive to the successor.
Who knows? Maybe you'll get a discount for having the original game on Switch. And then
it'd be nice. I don't know if it depends. The only way that that's going to happen is if they intentionally patch all of their old games as well.
Yeah.
Which I don't really see them doing, to be completely honest. So I would be hard pressed to actually believe they will do something like that, a program like that. I would be willing to bet it's just going to be just buy it again. Yooka-Laylee also, specifically that one, that's almost like a tear down rebuild situation.
Yeah, it is,
I don't even think there is an upgrade option even on the modern consoles.
Yeah, as far as I understand, you're buying a new game. Who knows? Maybe that isn't the case, but
it'd be nice. I'm just not holding my breath on that one.
I think as we get more details about the next console, we're probably going to find out that the backward incompatibility in general will likely just be pretty basic, but for some games there will probably be an enhancement or an upgrade. We've already heard rumors of Breath of the Wild getting touched. I assume if Breath of the Wild is getting touched, Tears of the Kingdom would probably get touched too.
Yeah,
I think it'd be in Nintendo's best interest to do that, to keep those games alive on the next machine, because they,
I just wonder what they would even do. A simple resolution upscale and maybe a frame rate upscale.
Frame rate, I think
that doesn't feel like Nintendo.
Feel like a Nintendo thing.
It doesn't feel like a Nintendo thing.
At the same time, I think it's not un-Nintendo either. If you think about the new 3DS, he pops.
But the new 3DS didn't upscale shit. There wasn't a new version or a patch or anything.
Yeah, exactly. You basically play the same game, but if you play Monster Hunter 4 on a new 3DS, you're having a better experience than someone who's playing on a normal 3DS.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I think that's
so. I do think. I think if they were to do something, it would have to be something like that, where you take your Breath of the Wild Switch cart or your digital version, and you play it on the new Switch, and it just automatically has a better experience.
Yeah.
Almost not even advertised though. It just is better. There's something in the hardware or the operating system or something where it's just it reads that this is a file that needs to unlock the specs to some degree.
Frame rate or some shit. Yeah.
I think that's the only way they would kind of get away with it, is if it's almost seamless and they don't even need to advertise it. It's just by the way, some games I honestly doesn't even seem like something they would announce.
It's not something.
I feel like they would, because as soon as they say that, it cheapens the original experience, which I don't think they would ever acknowledge.
They're very much about keeping the original experience.
It was what it was. Yeah.
If they can.
It was perfect the way it was. Right.
That'd be acknowledging. That'd be saying oh, it was worse.
Right.
What we made was not good enough. That's not true.
Exactly. And that's why I don't think they'll ever even acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm. It just.
But I think people might find it, Twitter weirdos might go and be like, "Oh my god, frame rate doubled." They're not even saying it. Shadow drop, Nintendo. Oh my god.
Yeah,
like it would be something like that, where it's like only the people that care would ever even know about it,
right?
And they would know it through their own experimentation.
It's like having a boost mode, but
it's like a nice bonus.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, like they could say, I don't know what they would call it, but.
Again, I don't think they would call it anything.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if
it's
it was
purely just a nice to have thing that only the technical weirdos like Digital Foundry are ever even going to know about. Yeah. Most normies, like the 95% of their user base, they're going to play the new game and just be like, "Oh yeah, it's the same game." Yeah. Not even realizing that it's like running at a smoother frame rate with less frame drops and things like that.
A lot of people don't even realize that. Like, a lot of people are happy with this thing.
Oh yeah,
the amount of people that are not. I'm pointing at a Switch that's sitting on the table right now. There's a lot of people that say they want more performance out of it, and that's genuine. I believe that.
Sure,
too.
yeah.
If they gave me one that had the same shit that ran better, I'd buy it immediately. But for a lot of people that just don't know what the fuck that is, they don't know what better is. Like we mentioned this before too. This is probably one of the first consoles that I consider more of like an appliance, like a game appliance. Yep. It's something you just have until it stops working, and then you get another one.
Yeah,
it's like a toaster.
Yeah.
It's as long as the games work, as long as you can play fucking Mario Party Jamboree on it, as long as you can play Mario Kart on it, people are happy. That's good enough for them.
I mean, look at their fucking business performance.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's actually insane.
At a time when like the industry is cratering left and right.
Yeah. I something about this thing not being it's everything about it separately feels like the Joy-Con feel kind of cheap. The system is small, the hardware is obviously underpowered, but once you put all this stuff together and people make software that is for it, or that that utilizes it in a way that's comfortable,
right?
You start to realize what the experience is, and it's just like it's simple. It's you put game in and you play it. You don't have to think about any other shit unless the joystick.
I have a game that exemplifies exactly what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. It might be the same game that you would pick too. What would you pick if you were to pick?
I want you to say it.
The Prime Remaster.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Specifically because of all the modes that it comes with, and all of them feel fucking polished as shit.
Yeah.
And it looks good as shit. Yeah. It's probably the best remaster on the console. It takes advantage of every ounce of value that this thing can output.
Offers. Yeah. It's a remaster of one of my favorite games ever, but a GameCube game. So it's modernizing it and giving you every single option to control it that has ever existed. Every single configuration that the Switch can offer you can utilize. The tabletop mode with the Joy-Con off, whatever.
It was so I had a moment when I was flying home from a work thing.
Yeah.
I'll never fucking forget this. I don't know why it had such an impact on me.
Yeah.
But I was flying home. I was tired as shit. Mm-hmm. It was like 10 p.m. It was like a red-eye flight. I was in a middle fucking seat because I was on Southwest, and Southwest can suck my ding-a-ling. I hate Southwest. I hate that you can't pick your fucking seat in advance.
Damn.
That's a different thing.
Yeah.
But I was in a middle seat, and I'm a big fucking guy. I'm 6'3".
Yeah.
I'm hairy as shit. I got broad shoulders from a lifetime of swimming. And so I was stuck between two other equally large people. I couldn't even hold the Switch in handheld mode comfortably because my fucking shoulders and my elbows were just like in the way.
Yeah.
A Steam Deck would have been a complete fucking no-go in terms of how much bigger it is.
And
I was like, God, this, I was like, even this like fucking sucks. Like I almost just want to like be on my phone for this flight. But what I did is one of those flights where nowadays in some of the 737 Maxes, you can put your tablet up on the... And they don't have the TVs anymore. They just have like, put your phone or your tablet here. Yeah. I fucking took the Joy-Cons off, put the Switch body up there, kind of like put my hands literally in my lap.
Twisted in your lap,
Both Joy-Cons in each hand and in my lap, and played fucking motion control mode for the entire way home on hard.
Fucking crazy.
And it worked so well. It was so, like I was so happy. I was able to like rest my head all the way back. I wasn't like craning down to look at something in handheld mode.
Yeah.
I was like, this actually is an experience you cannot get on anything else, have never been able to get before the Switch.
Right.
It was a surreal, divine experience.
Like,
I'm not a shill.
I mean, it's okay to shill for shit you like, honestly, because I think we're going for a long time because we're really it's really comfortable in here.
It's nice.
This is fucked.
That's nice. I'm gonna get some cushions for these benches
we're gonna get longer episodes because of this. This fucking thing, it's something when you're in hindsight, you realize like how nice it is.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of little, like I said, a bunch of little things that come together, and then you have an experience like you had, or you have the experience I had earlier in the generation, I guess you can call it, where I was like, oh, Mario Odyssey came out, but I need to take my grandfather in for chemo. I can still fucking play it. I don't have to be home to play it. I can take it with me. I can buy this brand new game, pop it in, and just kind of just hang out with Grandpa while I'm like, oh, new game, blah blah blah, and like that shit is cool. I'm not gonna forget the amount of places I took this thing, especially very early on, because like the year it came out, I went across the country. I drove across the country and I took the thing with me. Over there. I was just like,
and honestly, like that's also an undervalued aspect of not just hardware, but of like games specifically. Is like the cultivated like personal moments. Like everyone's talking about making the best game. But Nintendo, because they've been in the game for so long, they know it's actually like not just about that. It's about giving somebody an experience that they take with them, and then they want to give that to their kids, and it becomes a human thing. And that again goes back to sort of the leadership thing, and like good leaders in people and in industries will focus on that sort of like that personal customer experience. It's not just dollars and cents. We're all businesses. We're in a capitalist society. Dollars and cents matter, but when you let that kind of take a little bit of a backseat to what drives the dollars and cents, you know, you almost imagine revenue as a lagging indicator rather than a leading indicator, and you prioritize the experience first and foremost, and the experience is created by providing something that will enable those experiences. That's where the fucking rubber meets the road, as we say in the corpo world.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, that all makes complete fucking sense, because a lot of the way Nintendo operates, and which is probably why they're so strict about it, is that they're trying to create a situation, they're trying to create that quote-unquote walled garden, or whatever you want to call it, that allows somebody to have the experience they're providing in their own way. And the more their games kind of open up, the more that happens. That's what happened with Breath of the Wild. You could talk about that game for fucking a year, I'm sure. But that game, a lot of those mechanics in that game are very simple on their own. They're not complicated. They're not complicated open world RPG mechanics, but it's the way they all touch each other that then gives the player the emergent gameplay. That then this player has a different experience than this player, than this player, and this player. And
socially they can talk about
exactly.
it. Yeah.
And that's part of why the game isn't like intended to be played 100%. That if you play it 100%, that's fine. You can do that. That's your experience. But it also means that you instead of having your experience, you just have eaten everything at the buffet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they want you to pick what you think is interesting, talk about that, and then maybe try some other parts of the game, or tell other people about the parts you like. And once that all comes together, then everyone that you're interacting with the game with, you all talk about that experience, and that creates the complete experience. Not even to mention the time of your life you might be in, and things like that too.
Yeah, and it's funny because that kind of design mentality, while I'm sure they've had this for decades, is actually probably one of the few things that is still relevant in an age of like social media, where like people can still share these experiences without it diminishing or spoiling the experiences that someone else might have. Like you might see somebody do some crazy shit online, but like, that might invigorate you, or it might be like, oh well, I'm not that good or whatever, but it's like it's still a different experience that like it should be just augmentative in terms of how you experience the game for yourself. It's
no more or less valuable than your own experience.
Exactly.
It's something to be. It's meant to be shared. You know what I mean?
Whereas a lot of AAA games, I think, if you watch the game, it's probably like 60% of the game. Yeah, like you've probably actually covered a decent chunk of what the game has to offer.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not bad or good. It's just it's a nature of. It's something that doesn't work as well in the age of streaming and socials, where it's very easy to access
just like
that experience passively or secondhand.
Right. Fucking, I think, because it's like speaking of like spoilers and shit like that, but I do think they're also on the other end. There's been a wave, not new, but a relatively recent wave of people that treat experiencing a game, like consuming a game, as a competition, even if the game's not competitive. Like they were there first. They were the first one to upload.
It's like,
they were
the first one to make the
game guide. They were the first one to have the 100% run.
I think that's been that way forever.
It's been that way forever, but I think the way it is now, where everyone can just see it immediately, has changed the way certain people experience stuff. Where
that's probably true. Yeah.
A lot of the times it's like someone uploads something and then somebody else parrots their gameplay instead of having their own experience, and that I feel is reductive. They don't. Like, they can have their experience like that or whatever, but I'd rather somebody experience a game their own way with the struggles and everything that come with learning how to play it, and then take that experience to see how somebody else is playing it in the most optimized way, and using that to enhance their mastery.
I think that's a pretty common take, at least for people our age and older, just because like that also translates to other forms of media, like music, books, movies, so on and so forth, where, I think we would understand that, like, in order to have the most personalized experience and opinion on something, you should experience it without knowing how other people might have reviewed it first, because that's inherently going to taint your image, your impression.
It's going to affect how you take it in. It's going to immediately put a even in the thinnest filter over what is coming through, like getting to you. Yeah,
and it's an unfortunate side effect of the instant access to everybody else in the world, especially like review sites and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of how everybody consumes stuff, whether it's movies with Rotten Tomatoes, whether it's with, games and games journalism. You're going to go into a game expecting a certain quality based on how well it reviews.
Right.
The downside with games is that it is generally a bigger investment. So you have a bigger reaction to whatever you get out of it.
And if you're told to expect this game to be like this, at least for me, if a game gets like an average score, I'm actually more likely to really like it because I can be surprised by it.
You have no expectations.
If I see something is getting 10 out of 10s across the board or something like that, that's great. That's fantastic, especially if it was a game I was interested in. But it's like, unless it's a game that I was not expecting to get that, it's something that's like, okay, well, yeah, this is really, really good.
Yeah.
Like, I knew it was going to be good.
Right.
That's great. Like, I got what I was expecting. And when I engage with stuff like this for fun, I prefer the unexpected.
Right.
Sometimes I like the comfortable, but I prefer the unexpected.
It's interesting. It's actually, it's funny just thinking again about how this compares to the corporate world, but like, when the expectations are high, then you are now meeting expectations, which is almost like a C.
Yeah, people treat it like a school grade. Like, meeting expectations, you're just...
Well, no. What I'm saying is, like, if something is like a perfect game, 10 out of 10, everyone knows it's a perfect game before you've been able to get your hands on it. Now a perfect game for you is a C. So if it's not a perfect game, it's actually not meeting your expectations anymore. And it's a D or an F.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting. Like it now has no ability for you to exceed your expectations or do exceptionally.
Because your expectations are right here. So it's got to be there, and that's what's being considered the middle.
Exactly.
The middle of your feelings about it. So, yeah. Well, I think this episode has gone quite long.
Damn, it has. It's over an hour.
Yeah.
Let me just finish up that thought.
Yeah.
Because my most recent game that I finished, finished up with a quick little review.
Let it rip, yeah.
I finished Echoes of Wisdom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I think it was kind of a similar situation where the game was so hyped, and it was really good. There was a lot of shit, especially early on, that surprised me significantly.
Yeah.
But the more I like got into the game, the less I was surprised by it. I enjoyed the whole thing. Like I was surprised at certain things that it augments and covers, like almost like gaps that I didn't know were there with like Link's Awakening, Links to the Past, like other top-down Zelda games. It does it in ways that other 3D Zelda games have done better.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that it exists. I think it pushes the ball forward for top-down Zelda and Zelda in general, and just the way that it takes from so many of the historical Zeldas and turns into something completely fresh and new. But some things, like at the end of the day, I was like, I enjoyed it. Like the ending sequence, I enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah,
it was good.
I expected this to be. I expected the entire time. I expected it to be kind of like a stopgap game, especially with. Grezzo made it. It's great to see another studio make an original Zelda game. The same way Flagship did with the Oracle games and stuff like that.
Yep.
So having another studio working on essentially a mainline Zelda game, and perhaps having some of that staff roped into the main staff and seeing some of those mechanics make it into the I don't want to say it because this sounds reductive, but make it into the bigger games.
Right.
Is good. Like that Echoes of Wisdom is very much we're kind of in a period where some Switch games really have that Game Boy Advance feeling to them, and I really like that. Like
that's
Mario
a really
Luigi
good comparison. I do wish it was it almost, it's a shame because I'm conflicted on the length, because on the one hand the scenarios are so much more fleshed out, like the temple scenarios
the situations
are so much more fleshed out compared to all the other games, to the point where it's too long to be a Game Boy Advance game. And it probably approaches like the 20 to 30 hour mark probably. So like on the one hand, like I actually think it would have probably benefited from being a little bit shorter. Interesting. Just because there's so much to it, to the point where it almost does start to feel a little bit repetitive. There's some optional stuff though that I think is like unintentionally like the best part of the game though. I mean, like challenges and shit. And I was like, that's fucking tight. It's a little micro thing that they were able to like specifically design. They give you a limited set of tools. Like it's cool, and I really enjoyed engaging with those. But I think the people that are like out here being like, this is the best game this year, this is game of the year, whatever, I think they're like kind of off their rocker a little bit. Yeah. Like either that or they were just premature. They just played like maybe the first 3 hours, because based on the first 3 hours, you're probably like, oh my God, where's it going to go from here?
Yeah. And you don't know where the plateau is going to be.
Exactly.
Fucking, it's the same. I've seen people, I know we're trying to end this, but like people will say any game is their game of the year, and I really appreciate that people will do that. But sometimes it's weird seeing people say like Shredder's Revenge was their game of the year. It's like, this is the best game that's come out this year. It's like, it's good. Like, I don't know about. There's a lot of games that came out this year. It's not the only thing here. Yeah. But I mean, for some people, a game will scratch an itch that no other game can, and that's the way it should be. Not to mention, I don't think. Well, definitely some people are Ubisoft. I don't think anyone's out here designing a game being like, we need to make game of the year. That's not how that works. Like game of the year.
Maybe just Ubisoft. Huh? Maybe Ubisoft. Maybe Sony.
Maybe Sony. But like, I don't think anyone's sitting here like, we need to make a game that makes awards, because games that are made to make awards don't
win the awards. Right.
Games that are made to delight are those exist to. Like I said, it's like biting a piece of candy. Maybe you love it, maybe you don't, but at least it was something sweet,
Yep.
So
I feel you.
Yeah. So on that
note, feeling something sweet, let's leave it on a good note here. If you liked this, we're not gonna do a higher fans. Yeah. The fans are out here. If you're still with us at this point in this long, complicated, messy episode, you're one of the real ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll hire you.
If I called you an idiot earlier and you stayed here, then just don't get.
Maybe there's some growth to be had there.
Yeah, maybe you learned something. Who knows?
Hit us up. We're at memoryleaguepodcast@gmail.com, and give us a like, comment, subscribe. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and YouTube.
Hell yeah!
Until next time, gamers.